You're listening to the Hello Awesome podcast, and this is episode number 70. Welcome back to the podcast, my friends. I am so excited. Today, I will be sharing a special interview with my friend Sarah Allen from Inside the Pastor's Wife on Instagram. Sarah shares her passion for minimalism and how a decluttered home helps with a decluttered mind. She talks about how it's necessary to have a healthy relationship with Jesus in order to have a healthy relationship with our children. And she shares the key to how we can be happy mothers. I'm so encouraged by her and inspired by her, and I know you will be too. This is something that I know has been on all of our minds, especially those of us who have been on lockdown or who have been home with our children just a little bit more. If you're out there, this is the episode for you. So I pray and hope that Sarah's words will encourage you the way it has encouraged me. So let's just get right into it. This is episode number 70. That's right, 70 episodes. How crazy. This is episode number 70 that I am calling The Key to a Happy Mom with Sarah Allen. Hey guys, I'm JC. Are you ready for real conversations about faith, business, and life? Me too. This is the Hello Awesome podcast, where I bring forth topics and truthful insights that will encourage you to make intentional choices and pursue God with your whole heart. Are you ready to say hello to the awesome blessings that God has for you? All right, let's do this. Summer is upon us, and what better way to celebrate than with some sweet deals? I have an amazing group of business ladies who have sponsored the podcast, and they have a treat just for Hello Awesome listeners. My friend Chantel, a two-time podcast guest, runs the very successful modest fashion clothing brand Nuggles. Aiming to always provide beautiful, comfortable, and affordable apparel, Nuggles desires every lady to embrace modesty with style. You don't have to break the bank or sacrifice that morning latte when you shop with Nuggles. In fact, Hello Awesome listeners can use the exclusive 10% off discount code by using Hello Awesome 10 during checkout. Head to nuggles.us to browse their full collection today. Again, that's nuggles.us to shop high-quality products to add to your modest wardrobe right now. Do you find yourself struggling to find a durable scrunchie that's both functional and cute? Seriously, look no further than Sew Vita. Guys, I am not lying when I say that I use Lucy's scrunchies every single day, and my hair reaches behind my knees. Sew Vita is a handmade shop with beautiful and fun scrunchies, headbands, and more. Use coupon code PODCAST for 10% off your order right now at sewvita.com. That's SEWVIDA.com. Go grab a few goodies this summer and keep your hair off your neck with style. Be sure to also follow Lucy on Instagram at SewVita. Are you looking for classic modest pieces for your summer wardrobe? My girl Mandy over at Blue Thistle Tailor has timeless dresses, skirts, and handbags. Last year, it was such a treat to meet Mandy during General Conference in Indiana, and I truly feel like we're soul sisters. I love her passion for simplistic modesty, and you will too. Just use our special code HelloAwesome for 20% off your order on bluethistletailor.com. That's BLUTHISTLETAILLUER.com. Also give her a follow on Instagram at Blue Thistle Tailor. I don't know about you, but I struggle to find quality skincare products with simple ingredients that don't irritate my skin, especially in these hot summer months. Well, Rachel over at Oneness Essentials makes handmade soap and body products that not only look and smell beautiful, but they're perfect for sensitive skin like mine. I seriously can't wait to try her cocoa cream lotion. It sounds like it smells amazing. Use code HelloAwesome for 15% off your order when you shop at onenesssoapbiz.com. That's ONENESSSOAPBIZ.com. Make sure to also follow Oneness Soap Biz on Instagram for gorgeous product photos and updated business info. So when I think of summer, I think of hanging out by the shore and strolling along little shops, browsing at the adorable clothing that I just can't afford. Can you relate? Well, you don't have to worry about that with Dress Like an Angel. Felicia is a pastor's wife and mama of 2 beautiful daughters who has been selling clothing for 30 years now. Wow, this woman of God is the ultimate mama boss. Felicia's shop, Dressed Like an Angel, features stunning dresses, skirts, extenders, layered tops, and so much more in a variety of styles, while highlighting the beauty of modesty. She even carries items for young girls like her best-selling lace tights. If you live near Starks, Louisiana, stop by their brick and mortar store that's filled with adorable, gorgeous clothing. Or use our exclusive discount code HelloAwesome for 10% off your order at dresslikeanangel.com. Keep up with their huge inventory selection and future sales by following Dress Like an Angel on Instagram. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Hello Awesome podcast. We are here with a brand new guest, and I cannot wait for this conversation. Sarah, thank you so much for taking time to be with me today. Can you please share who you are, what you do, and where people might know you from?
Hi, I am. I feel so honored to be invited to be on your podcast today. And my name is Sarah, like you said, and I am a pastor's wife. And I have an Instagram account. My name is Inside the Pastor's Wife, which kind of tells a little bit about myself there. And my husband and I have actually been in the ministry since before we initially married. My husband was in the ministry, and when we married, God just led us to different areas of ministry, and we've pastored for several years, and we've currently been pastoring the church we're at now for almost 4 years, and we've been married for 10 years. I met him whenever I was 14, got married when I was 19. We've been married almost 11 years. We have 4 children. We have a 6-year-old daughter, a 3-year-old son, a 2-year-old son, and a 1-year-old son. So between pastoring, being a mom, being a wife, just keeps us all busy. We are in Ohio, about 30 minutes north of Cincinnati, and I've been born and raised in Ohio my whole life. So that's a little bit about myself.
Yeah, well, I know one of the things I love about you are the insights that you do share on Instagram. And I say this a lot and I laugh every time I say this, but I meet so many wonderful people on that platform, and I'm just so thankful that God like crossed our paths because it's just so amazing. And there's just so many posts that you are just so real on. You're so vulnerable in a classy way, and you really do honor your family and your faith. And I wanted to know what motivated you to step out on social media and open your heart, especially as a pastor's wife.
Well, thank you. A few years ago, I think it really started when I had my second child. Well, between my first child, my second child, my husband and I experienced a miscarriage, and that was a really, really dark season for me. And during that time, it took a little while, but I stepped out and I started sharing my heart, because I know that is one area of life that's kind of like a hush hush area to talk about, mostly because a lot of people don't know how to respond to, just like anything, any kind of grief. If you've never really experienced it for yourself, you really don't know how to respond and commiserate with somebody, And so I started sharing my heart a lot about miscarriage and my testimony about how God just brought me out of that trial of my life and was able to use it for a testimony. And I never realized how many other women, were maybe too timid to step out and, tell everybody what was going on with them and express their grief. And God really used that area of my life, I feel like, to be a testimony to others, to let them know that they're not alone. And it just kind of grew over the years. The more children we had, and we started pastoring, and the more I shared, I at the time had a public Instagram account, and I just really felt like the Lord was leading me to reach out to others that I may not know, that I may never meet in life, but that I may be able to testify to them about God's grace, God's mercy, and God's unfailing comfort. And it's been a huge blessing. I feel like God, is using me in a way that I may have never been used before if I didn't have the faith to step out and share the ups and downs, the ugly parts of life that a lot of people really don't want to share very often. So that's kind of what led me to open up about myself a little bit more there on my social media platform.
Yeah, and I think that's so encouraging, especially for those listening who might not have started their Instagram account or who have started an account with that same motivation to share their story. And I think one of the beauties in what you just said is, for other women to realize that they're not alone in whatever they're suffering and whatever they're going
Right.
through. And that's one of the things that I hope in this podcast, listeners can really be encouraged to just share your story, whether you think other people might understand or not. I guarantee there is somebody out there who does understand. And so, yeah, I do think it does take some bravery and it does take some courage to step out and share that because it's just so vulnerable and you feel so kind of exposed. But there's definitely beauty in that. And if you look at all the people in the Bible who have shared their story, especially Paul, there's power in your story. And I love how just a simple platform like Instagram can just be that place where we can come together.
Right.
Now, I need to know because I think this is one of the most popular things that people will know you for, your letterboards. And I really do love that idea. I actually have a letterboard and I honestly just seem to forget to use it. But and I have quotes that I've written down that I want to take more pictures of on there. How did the letterboard idea start?
Well, when I first started this account, I had a few apps that I would create quotes with and just different things that popped into my head. And the more I was looking, the search option on Instagram, and I was just looking through different, it pops up with a different accounts that are kind of associated with what you're associated with. And I noticed what stuck out to me was that first initial, quote on a post. And, the statistics show that people spend 2 to 3 seconds glancing at a post before they move on, unless it really captures their attention. And I feel like, whatever I may have to say, just gets scrolled right on past. But with a letterboard, I feel like if I have something that is just burning on my heart, a quote or a phrase, whatever it may be, I can put it on my letterboard there, and that is, boom, initially what somebody sees. And so I felt like, it was, I liked the idea. I liked the look of it. And I kind of went with some turquoise letters. I love that color. And it's just kind of stuck ever since. It's my fifth baby, so to speak. I baby it and get it out and play around with it. And whatever I just feel on my heart for that day, I'll just share a quote and just say a prayer that it encourages somebody, like it's encouraged me. Every post I make, I want to add, every post I make, I pray about it when I post, Lord, use this to just reach somebody that may need to read this. And usually I'm posting it because in that very moment, it's something that I needed to see. And so I'll go back on my Instagram and I'll read something and I'll be like, wow, I can't believe I posted that because tonight, I posted it this morning, but tonight that's what I need to see. So I kind of use it to not only encourage others, but I use it to encourage myself also.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I definitely understand that. When you're a creative person and when you're in tune with the Lord, He does encourage you through quotes and through words and through messages. And I think one of the amazing things about having a platform where you could share your voice is that the message hits you first, you know? And
hmm
I love that about using the letterboard as a way to kind of maybe stop somebody's attention because it is like a fast highway. Instagram feels like everybody's posting, 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 going, going, going. And it's just nice to be stopped by something that's going to fill us, and make us feel
Right.
hopefully better or at least thoughtful or inspired. moving forward, and so that we can continue on our day maybe in a different light. Maybe we can think
Right.
about God or faith or whatever the message is, and I really do love that idea. Now, we talked about this before we started recording, but one of the things that I really, really was encouraged by is your passion for minimalism and simplicity. Now, when we were buying our house a couple years ago and we had to sell our condo, I definitely had a crash course in this because you have to get rid of everything. I had to
Right,
get rid of
right.
everything and I had to simplify, and I wish I would have kept up with it because it was awesome. Um, but can you just walk me through that journey for you? How did that start?
Yeah, definitely. Well, my husband and I sold our previous home that we had purchased when we married. We sold it back in 2017. At the time, I was quitting my job to be a stay-at-home mom, and it just made more sense to move closer to his job and our church. And so we used to live in a 3,000 square foot home. And when we were selling it, I was expecting our third child. I was 8 months pregnant. We did not know the gender of the baby. And so I started going, we already had a son and a daughter. And so I started going through Rubbermaid totes that had baby clothing in them. And so this was right in the middle. I was 8 months pregnant. We were moving out of our home and we were adding a child all within like the same 2 week time period.
Mm.
So I remember not only packing up the whole house, I went downstairs to the basement where all the totes were, and I was getting out like newborn clothing for a boy and a girl since we didn't know his gender. And I remember looking around the basement and I had 17 totes of baby clothes, and that was baby girl size newborn to 3T and boy newborn to 12-month clothing. I mean, 17 totes. And
Wow.
I'm exhausted. I have two toddlers. We're moving. I remember I sat down on the basement steps and I looked around and I'm like, this is absolutely ridiculous. And a lot of this stuff had tags on it, like it had never been worn. I'm like, this is crazy. And so in that moment, I remember sitting there and I'm like, something has got to be done. We've got to change things here. And so not only did I made like so many trips to the Goodwill donating stuff. The curb was like filled with garbage. I gave stuff away. And whenever we sold our home, we did not have a new home just yet. We lived with my in-laws for a couple months. We didn't want to rush into anything. And God just laid the house that we currently live in our laps. And it just worked so crazy because here we were selling our 3,000 square foot home. I was, getting rid of half of our stuff, it seemed like. And then the home
Mhm.
that we ended up purchasing was a 1,500 square foot home. So we cut the square footage of our home in half, plus we've added two more children since then. So I'm like, it had to be God laying this on my heart because he knows that I would not have been able to do this with two extra babies in a smaller house. So
Yeah.
I started it then and we just stuck with it ever since. And it's just become our way of life now.
Well, that's so fun to hear, but I bet it was not fun going through it. Um, Man, I just know when you're pregnant, you're just so tired and exhausted. But then when you hit that sweet spot and you want to get rid of everything and you start nesting, I know that takes over too. But I kind of have that idea where we are right now. My husband and I, we love purging. I purge at least every 6 months, and I probably now do it every couple of months. And I turn around, I'm like, how do we still have stuff? You always just
I
have
know.
more stuff. And I wanted to know, from your perspective, what's it like right now, maintenance wise and motherhood? I want to know kind of both the challenges, but also the positives.
Right. I feel like at this point we've gotten into a good routine of things, and I understand a lot of people that choose to start doing this, living a more minimalist life, a simpler home than what they may have now. Some of those people may already have older children that are kind of in the routine of things, but I feel like with my kids now, with any child really, you can kind of see which toys they gravitate to over others, which ones they prefer over others. And usually what I do is before birthdays and before the Christmas season, we will go through and we will, go through toys they may or may not play with. And we will donate those, especially around the holiday season. There's a lot of charities for children that, may not have very many toys or that sort of thing. And we will go through toys. So what I do every day is, I let my kids kind of just have free reign of their toys all day. And then they know at nighttime before bed or before dinner, it's time to get cleaned up. And my boys especially, they love like little tiny, I'm sure your kiddos are probably like this too. They love like small toys, like little dinosaurs, little Hot Wheels. So we have those all over, and I have 3 smaller Rubbermaid type totes that they know that's what their toys go in. So there's really no organization about where the toys specifically go. And my daughter, my 6-year-old, she is especially into crafting. And so that is mainly what she has. She has a cabinet in her bedroom. She opens it up. She knows all of her crafting stuff goes in there and it stays organized. And that is, but the challenge is I do have smaller kids and they're not an adult. I don't expect them. Well, some days I may expect them, but I have to understand and remember that they're just children and they're going to be messy because that's human nature. But at the end of the day, I feel like they're getting the hang of things and they're understanding, I'm teaching them the best I can and they're kind of grabbing onto it and going with what they know how to do. And so that has been, and also another challenge, I'll add this, another challenge can be the holiday and birthday season because they have grandparents and friends and aunts and uncles that want to buy them all kinds of toys. And over the years, the longer I've been doing this, especially both grandmas, and so they're going to buy toys. And so instead of them spending an X amount of money on several little toys, they'll spend that on one larger toy that may be a little bit better quality, something they really want and they will play with. And so now they've learned, grandmas, is there anything specifically that they may need or that you want them to have? So it did take time. They say Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's the same thing with your home. It's not going to be purged overnight. And same with toys. You're not going to be able to purge them overnight either. So take a little, one room at a time, a little bit at a time, and don't be discouraged when it doesn't happen overnight, because you'll look back over the last year or the last 6 months and you'll be able to see how far you've come in that amount of time.
Yeah, for sure. So would you say one of the positives is just seeing how your children might appreciate their stuff more because they don't have so much of it?
Yes, very much so. And I find they take a little bit better care of what they do have. Instead of having, 10 of the same thing in a different color, they might have 3 of the same thing in a different color. And they play with that a little bit more. Instead of feeling overwhelmed with a room full of toys, they get to focus on the few toys that they do have and appreciate even more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm finding. I know for me, when I think about this, because I would love a minimalist lifestyle, at least that's in my brain, but all I see is clutter, which we'll get into that in a minute. But I think the personalities of my children kind of threw me for a loop, because my first son actually loved books and puzzles more than actual toys. Like, he still loved toys, but not as much. But we would buy different types of toys to see if it would entice him. And none of them really did. He's just not that kind of kid. He's playing a little bit more now that he's turning 8. Now he's playing with toys. But he's more of a puzzle. Like, that's just how his brain works. He loves books. He loves reading. He loves puzzles. And so going into this, I had quite a bit of toys, but not too bad. But then my second one, that's all he wants to do is all toys. And the little ones, like you were saying, every little toy, but he has such an attachment to these little toys, and he knows exactly how he's playing with them, and he knows their name that he calls them. And I cannot purge when he's around, or even when he's not around, because sometimes he would say, I remember once specifically, he asked me for a stuffed animal. Mom, where is this? I forgot what it was. And I'm pretty sure I took a bag of stuffed animals to Goodwill like a couple months ago, but he went months and months and months without noticing it. But then he realized he wanted it that one day, and he said it specifically, and I was like, "Oh boy, buddy." And it kind of breaks your heart, but kids do get over that. I do appreciate you sharing that, because I do think kids are capable of being taught and learning and growing, and that's encouraging to me. So I mentioned clutter because that's something for me that I find difficult. I have such a habit of just moving things, and I have specific places for them, but then they never get there. So can you share with us how we as people are affected by the clutter in our homes?
Well, there has been clinical studies done that have shown that, if you walk around your house and it's totally out of sorts or completely cluttered and you're like, oh my goodness, I feel so overwhelmed right now. That is not just a figment of your imagination. There have been studies done that show that clutter in your home actually can induce a hormone called cortisol, which in turn can trigger anxiety and tension. And anxiety and tension, if we're feeling anxious or we're feeling tense, that's not just something that affects us personally. That can affect every aspect of our life. It can affect our relationship with God. It can affect our relationship with our spouse, our children, our family, our friends. It can affect every aspect of your life. And I mean, of all places in the whole world, your house should be the one place, besides church, your house should be the one place that there is no tension, no anxiety. It should be your refuge from the outside world. Whenever you walk through those doors, you should feel welcome. You shouldn't feel anxious. You shouldn't look around and, feel so much anxiety over clutter in your house. And I totally get that. I mean, I have 4 kids and we live in a smaller home, so my house gets messy sometimes. But, going through your home little by little, you don't have to go through your whole home in one day or 1 week or 1 month. Going through your home little by little, dissecting it room by room, drawer by drawer, clearing the clutter in your life can reduce so much stress. It can just free you from tension that you're feeling. And it's not just something that's in your mind. It's something that's actually been proven and shown that reducing clutter can reduce tension.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. And I'm glad you share that, because I feel like it's easy for us as the keepers of the home, as the women of the home. It's easy for us to kind of get that feeling of overwhelm and anxiety just because of the amount that we might see. Because sometimes we see things that maybe other people in the household does not see. And I remember when we had our condo, my husband and I had separate closets, which was glorious. And I remember thinking, this is not normal. It's not a normal everyday thing that a husband and wife gets their own closet, because we can keep it however we want it and then close the doors. But when we moved into our house, not only did we not have 2 closets, our master is actually the smallest bedroom in the entire house. And we have enough room for our bed and dressers, and we share a closet. And so, yes, we can definitely attest to cleaning out the clutter relieves the tension, because his church stuff was hanging there, and then the belts are hanging there, but then I need my scarves and I need my dresses, and then all of our shoes were getting mixed up. And I tried the best that I could, but we just had too many things, you know, in there. And so just this past, I can't remember if it was January or February, but before the springtime, we looked at each other and we were like, okay, I think it's time for us to kind of rearrange something here, because we knew that the closet was the main thing that was going to affect the function of our everyday, right? So
Right.
that's one tip is, if you're out there and you have clutter, maybe pick one thing that's going to affect your everyday. Maybe you could start there.
Right.
Like you said, a drawer. Well, what's a drawer that you go into every day that you're like, I can't find anything, right? So
Yeah.
my husband and I, his belts were kind of falling because it didn't have a proper hook, and he had all of his ties very unorganized. And so Sundays was like a tornado in there. And even though we tried the best that we could with different things, we needed a better system. And so we went to IKEA and we got a dresser that had 6 drawers. And then we each got 3 drawers for our shoes. So then those would be in there. But then my husband doesn't have 3 drawers of shoes, of course, not like me. So his top one has his rolled up. He was able to get an organizer, roll up his ties, roll up his belts. And he made the decision. He took care of that himself and put it in there so then he can find his own stuff. So anyways, it was just, I share all that and I'm babbling about it because we feel so much pride when we look at it now, because we said, okay, this was a problem. We worked together to fix the problem. And now it functions for us every day. And it kind of gives you the confidence for another project instead of trying to do too much at the same time.
Yes.
So I've noticed that, obviously I've said this before, that you're just very uplifting in your posts, especially about being a mother. And I think that's just so refreshing, especially in this culture where sometimes they encourage mean motherhood. You know, sometimes they encourage us talking down to our kids or calling our kids names and in the form of entertainment, or they think it's funny, you know, how the world operates sometimes.
Right.
And I really do think it's just amazing when I see posts of just, you know, mothers talking about how they enjoy their kids, or even if they're struggling, they're still being compassionate and loving towards their kids. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think one key is to being a happy mom?
Well, first and foremost, having a healthy relationship with Jesus Christ, because I feel like you are never going to be truly content in any area of your life without a healthy relationship with Jesus. And especially when it comes to being a mother, whether you're a working mother outside of the home or you're a stay-at-home mother, at the end of the day, you are exhausted and maybe a little bit short-fused, running the candle at both ends, so to speak. And if you don't take time to focus on your relationship with Jesus, you might just find yourself running a little bit more short-fused than usual. And, you know, the thing about this is something I am so passionate about, because I am no expert at mothering. My oldest child is 6 years old, but I felt like especially over the last several years, social media has become bigger and bigger. And, you know, a lot of the posts that we see as a mother, I mean, life in general, but especially as a mother, you see the best of days. You see, you know, everybody dressed up for Sunday service in their matching outfits and hair fixed, standing outside with a smile on their face. And yeah, that is life sometimes, but I'm lucky if my kids show up to church in matching shoes. So that's usually not how it goes for me. And I just felt like, as unpopular as that may be, I want other moms to see that, hey, I'm not alone. I don't have to post a perfect picture every time I'm posting something. You know, I want them to know that you're not alone and maybe feeling a little bit less than patient in the evenings. And that doesn't make you a bad mother. That just makes you human. And so I really feel like letting other mothers know that you're not alone. And at the end of the day, when you put your children to sleep and you read them their story, kiss them goodnight, letting them know that they're loved. And this makes me get emotional right here, because as a mother, you know, this is something I struggle with. And at the end of the day, as long as my kids go to bed knowing that they're loved and that they're safe and that they're protected, then I've done enough for that day. I don't need to make, you know, them a 6-course dinner shaped like stars and sunshines and that sort of thing. We don't need to do every Pinterest project there is to do for my kids to know that they're loved and for my kids to know that they're safe and protected. And so that I want other moms to see that too, that you might not be as crafty as this mom. You might not be as stylish as this mom. You might, you know, it doesn't matter, because no two people were created the same, which means that there's no two children the same and no two mothers the same. And that's okay, because motherhood, it is like the most beautiful thing in the whole wide world. It's also messy and it's chaotic and confusing, but motherhood, no matter what any mother does throughout their life, motherhood is the greatest ministry that you're going to have, because you are raising those babies and you have a platform with your babies like nobody else can have. And so don't be too hard on yourself. That's the key of being a happy mom. You keep your relationship with Jesus healthy, and don't be too hard on yourself.
Thank you so much for that. I definitely think that's going to encourage somebody. I know that encouraged me, and I think that's just so true, is that our relationship with Jesus needs to come first, because it's out of that relationship that flows that love and that patience and that temperance and that, all of the fruits of the spirit and all the things that we struggle with just from being human. And I know for me, if I don't take that time with the Lord every day, I find myself, yes, being more short, and then at the end of the day, I'm realizing, why was I like that today? Wow. I'm looking
Right.
back at my attitudes and the words that I say, and I'm realizing, wow, that was not appropriate, or I really didn't have to, that it wasn't that big of a deal to act that way, but
Right.
you just get caught up in your emotions. And I do feel, for me, I have two boys. So one of the things that really convicted me, especially with being the only woman in the house, is if my boys don't see me having a good relationship with Jesus, would they expect their wife to? So, I think it is easy for us to be very discouraged and overwhelmed. And I don't think that's anything new. I think we have to definitely pick and choose our battles as mothers, and really just boil it down to just the simple things. What are the main things that we need to provide? And those are the main things that are going to really stick out to kids. Are they being loved?
Right.
Are they being hugged? Are they being listened to? Are they being heard? I want you to just, if you don't mind, I would love for you to just take a couple minutes to talk to a mom right now who might be struggling. Maybe they just are feeling just so discouraged and they're just feeling so down. What would you say to her?
I would say to show yourself a little more grace. You know, whenever we begin our relationship with Jesus Christ, we accept the grace that he gives us. I mean, it's freely given. Every day we wake up to new mercy, new grace. When that clock strikes midnight, new mercy and new grace is there. And we wake up and we accept it, and we continue our relationship with him, and we accept it, like I just said. And I cannot stress that enough, accepting the grace, because just how Jesus shows us the grace and we accept the grace as a child of his, we need to give ourselves some grace as a mother. Yes, we might have room for improvement, but that's the beauty of grace, is it's new every day. It's something that's freely given from Jesus to cover our sins. It's something that we should freely give ourselves as mothers, because, every day is not going to be the best day. You might have days that are not that great, days that are, the best ever, so to speak. But the bad days do not define you. The bad days does not make you a bad mom. It just means that tomorrow is a new day, and we're going to wake up and we're going to try this again. And, if you're struggling, do not be afraid to reach out to somebody to talk with. Yes, keep your relationship with Jesus flowing. Keep that conversation flowing. Do not be afraid to reach out to a mentor, somebody you're close to, a spiritual counsel. Do not be afraid to reach out to them for some godly advice and the godly conversation that you need to hear to be encouraged. So keep your relationship with Jesus flowing, show yourself some grace, accept the grace, and be encouraged, knowing that you're not alone, because there is no mother that's ever walked this planet that hasn't thought, am I doing this right? And you're doing it right.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much for that. I mean, I'm sure even Eve had some mom guilt. So, when you're looking back at the very beginning, when you were a younger mom, I won't say young mom because I do think you are a young mom. When you were a younger mom, if you could give yourself a pep talk, what would you say?
I would say, don't be so hard on yourself. If I could look back, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, you are crazy. Do not be so hard on yourself, especially especially as a first-time mom, you just, you're going through it for the first time. You really, and no matter how much you read, no matter how much you're told, you really don't know unless you're experiencing it for yourself. And don't compare. Do not compare your child to another child. I said it earlier, there are no two children that are the same. Your baby's not going to walk at the same time, talk at the same time. So just stop comparing it, because it's going to make your motherhood experience a little more stressful than it should be. So just relax, take a deep breath. And it's easy for me to say that, you might think, but trust me, I've been there 4 times. I've had 4 newborns, and those sleepless nights, they really seem like they're never going to end. But then a few years later, you look back and you're like, where did the time go? So just as hard as it may be at times, really try to savor the moment and the experience of your little ones just wrapping their arms around your neck, because that's something you're never going to get back. So just enjoy the moment and lock it in your brain so you have something to go back and visit on those days that may be a little more stressful.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your heart with us and your life. Can you please take a minute to tell us where we can find you on social media?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Inside the Pastor's Wife. And I do have a blog, and that blog can be reached in my bio on Instagram.
Well, thank you so much. I know that this was time out of your day, and I just really appreciate you and your heart and just your message today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, would you take a screenshot of it and share it on your Instagram stories, tagging me at Hello Awesome Ministries? It will encourage me that you were blessed. Also, don't forget to leave a review and subscribe so you can tune into future episodes. To learn more about Hello Awesome, head to HelloAwesomeMinistries.com. Until next time, keep your chin up, beautiful.